It is a fabulous day to be sitting here with Jimmy Lee King. What's going on, brother?
I am just happy to be here. I woke up today again, somehow looking good, somehow again.
Are you a guy with a very strict morning regimen? Is that one of the consistencies in your life you hold sacred?
You know what? I did it for a long time, but in this last year, I now do this thing where the first hour I get up earlier so I can have an hour of peace, an hour of just being able to stretch and do some little bit of exercising and just try to enjoy and appreciate everything that's going to happen in this given day.
So you get up, you do some stretching. Do you do like a particular like yoga setup, or you just kind of go in there and free ball, just make sure you're touching base with the body and whatnot?
There's a guy that I follow online, and he does these sort of weird movements. I don't even know what the name of them is. It's like stretching and sort of doing squatting and different things where you're moving your body around in different ways, and it just made sense to me because the pliability of your body being able to move, it's what I do on stage and as a performer, and I just felt like that made sense to me more than lifting weights and kinds of things, using your body.
Yeah, there's more rehab to what we do than people often give it credit for. Like we touched on this before, but like it's a job that physically demands you be there and be like actively present every single time you do it. I mean, like your check is involved with you catching a sweat for a little bit, and that's a odd thing for people that work in bars and just do this for the entirety of it. You know?
Yeah, it is.
You ever have any big on-stage injuries?
Well, I didn't have my injury on stage, but I did break my shin bone, and it was at a time like the first probably 4 to 5 years that Karate Girls was going, and I didn't have anybody else as a sub or somebody else that's another member of the band that could be there, and so I just had to deal with it.
Just broken shin bone. Were you wearing like a full splint or a boot? No,
I never wore anything. It wasn't like a break where it was like bones were sticking out of the skin or anything. It was a
Kevin Ware action. Oh,
fracture, but it was certainly uncomfortable for a while. But I just had to go with it. So I've dealt with injuries of every kind.
Yeah. Well, I think just the amount of dancing, like especially the knees, the ankles, and the hips. It's like my personal hero is Prince, and you hear about just like the way that his hips troubled him late in his career. And then you think of how that's equally applicable to James and to Sly Stone. And it's like anyone that comes from the funk dance world just put their body through it. Rick James probably to some extent. I didn't see him as much of the athlete that Prince was, but depends on the footage you watch at that point in time.
Yeah.
So you're 18 years into NKG, Nick Karate Girls. I remember being a kid seeing that on a billboard for the first time being like, what's that, Dad? So, like, you got one family with it. Does it blow your mind to think of the staying power that project has had?
Yeah, I think so. I think when the band first started, we all asked each other, how long do you think you see you doing this? How long do you think we can do this? And each one of us had about a 5-year idea. And I think we all just, we loved each other. We loved doing what we were doing. And there was a lot of people in the city who, because we're from Cincinnati, that it almost felt like we needed to be here to be another one of Cincinnati's bands. And I don't want to say that we're great or anybody else is great.
You're a mainstay. I mean, like you can tell in the Facebook conversations, like, people can be so opinionated in the world of Cincinnati music. That the one thing that's undeniable is like, are people aware that you exist and do the thing at a high level? Fuck yeah, they are. Yeah. So what I want to know, did Ponch come before NKG? Ponch, your character in the band, just so folks know, because Jimmy Lee King and Ponch, they have a lot in common, but I wouldn't say even close to 50%.
Ponch is definitely a character. I'm a huge movie watcher and a fan of movies of all kinds. I just felt like the band, when we were creating the visual of the band, none of the guys in the band wanted to be in a band that just up there playing songs. We wanted it to be visually fun. I think people see music as much as they hear it in this, this world we live in now. And the character is much like a movie character, where when I go on stage, it's like action. And when I'm in front of a camera, anytime it's action, I'm in that character. And it's definitely born from all the different experiences I've had in my life and different musicians I've played with and funny things I've experienced.
So there's some local guys in there. Are there any like musical heroes that really played into making that character?
I think we all of them, all the way from Alice Cooper to David Lee Roth.
Yeah, I was actually going to say David Lee Roth. There is kind of that extra bombasticness that like Alice is an artiste and it's crazy, but it's not like the guy that you would let lead you into ongoing traffic the way that David Lee Roth and Ponch kind of are. You know,
way to put it.
It's just it's endearing. It's crazy. It's manic. It's very very endearing.
I think that. I did pay attention to David Lee Roth a lot. I paid attention to things like the way he would talk to an interview or talk to a crowd. They were very different, but he still was very smart about being able to be a salesperson for that band.
Yeah.
I mean, people go back and forth with, oh, he's not that good of a singer or whatever. I'm like, really? Who else could have stood on stage with Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen? And in that band that was created, you had to have been something special to be on stage with those guys, and he was it. And I don't think anybody else gives him that much appreciation on how good of a salesperson he was for that band.
Well, when your band's virtuosic like that, someone needs to make the product approachable. I mean, someone needs to be like the meat and potatoes we all understand. He provided songs that the world wanted to sing, great hooks. And then he also gave space. He was never jealous of Eddie or Alex or Michael with the things that they were doing to make the band better. He was just either icing on the cake or making sure that you always had a guy to keep up with in the project. It really is incredible.
He was always willing to be very self-deprecating, and he would do that on stage. He'd make fun of himself. I think that was one of the things I learned early on, is that it is cool to make fun of yourself in front of big audiences or, in front of a camera, because, hey, we're all human, and that human, especially now with all this AI and, different things that are going on, the human element of being a musician and playing in a band on stage in front of an audience of people that are having fun in whatever way, is still one of the coolest parts of being in the music world at all.
Yeah. So as this one really large character kind of came out and took place in one particular band, what's it like to kind of rehash out who you are in your normal day-to-day life or your next character that you play with? Because once you kind of cast Ponch, he has to be his own thing. Now who is Jimmy Lee King? And now who is your original project? Were those all questions at the time? Or did you ever figure that out in the years following?
It is funny. I did music for a movie that I turned into an album, and and when I took those songs and went out to play them live, I really did have to think about, what am I going to say now to an audience where it's just Jimmy and it's not Ponch? Because for years I had been talking as Ponch, and I had to really sit down and write out, okay, I can't, if I even sort of start going down what Ponch would say, the jig will be up. And I had to think about that as very seriously about what does my voice sound like? Again, I'd done it so long with as being Ponch. Now, me as a bass player, this is my foundation of Ponch. I'm not a bass player. I still don't really recognize myself as being a bass player. I'm a musician, but I was a lead singer for most of my life, being, touring with bands and all these different things I did. I was a drummer to begin with. I still feel much more like a drummer than I do a bass player. But I made a character out of what I do. And that's where I kind of was able to fudge it. When we first started playing out, though, I couldn't play for shit. I was pelvic thrusting my way through all the bass playing I couldn't do.
It got you pretty damn far. It's a good testament to how, there's two sides of the sword. There's the visual element, which you said so well. It's like you experience shows on the visual plane as much as you do the audible one. So making sure that both sides that get some level of attention. You knew you could pass as a bass player, but you could be tenfold what the rest of it was visually, so it could make up at some point. But it's so interesting. So, what's the film that? What's the name of the Jimmy Lee King album? Then what's the film that you wrote all that for?
The album itself, my name is Jimmy Lee King, and the album's called 1,000 Miles from Here.
And you felt so connected to that soundtrack that you went title track. Like the self-title is such an epic moment in my hero's career. You really felt that connected to it?
Yeah. A lot of the inspiration when I did the songs, because even if you're doing something for a record, you're going to veer off and have to do things that are part of your DNA. It's just part of being a songwriter, I think. And a lot of what I realize now more than I did then is a lot of them, from a lyrical standpoint, is that I lived in the Caribbean for a few years. And a lot of my lyrics came from those experiences of just what it was like being there. And that comes out in the record.
And how long had you kind of taken a break from the original music thing? Has this been a part of your life since you first started playing, or did it kind of come in waves? This was an original project. This was some time away. This was an original project. What's that like for you?
I think if I get the question right, writing music is just part of. It's always going to be part of what I do, whether I'm putting it on a record or whatever it is I'm doing. But throughout my career as a musician, I guess if you call it a career, I've been in all kinds of bands. I was in signed bands. I've been in bands that were just trying to make it, doing original music. It's got to be one of the hardest things that are ever put in front of a challenge board in life.
Is the Karate Girls a big change of pace for you to actually do just the cover band thing? Was that like a shocking change?
It was. I had moved back from the Caribbean. I came back to Cincinnati in '97, I think. I did play with a couple cover bands. One was a band called Marsha Brady. And after that, though, there was the opportunity for Karate Girls to do this thing. I had played with the drummer Glenn in another project I had, and we just kind of kept in touch. And when the Karate Girls thing came about, I had no interest in being in a cover band, but I was interested in this sort of fun aspect of what this platform of this was. And I didn't want to be a singer or a drummer or a guitar player. I'd been those and other things. I was like, I want to be the bass player. All right, well, do you have a bass? No. Have you ever played bass? No. But I know I can do it. I still am learning. After 18 years, I feel like I'm going to get it. If I just keep on doing it, I'm going to get it one day.
Yeah. It's so interesting to jump to something that you did not play in other bands as this big change in pace. So, and we kind of jumped out of order. So let me just go more direct. Like, what's your first songwriting experience? When did you start?
My first songwriting experience would have been back when I was probably 15 in Cincinnati. There was a band that I had, a cover band called Touch. And I wanted to do more with it, though. I mean, I saw Van Halen, and with the original lineup, and it's what pushed me to want to be a musician. And so I started trying to learn guitar enough to where I could play songs. I didn't even know why I was trying to learn guitar, but it was just so I could play songs. As a drummer at the time, I couldn't communicate music and how to make songs. So I started playing guitar, taught myself just enough to be able to start writing little things. And so the first song I wrote was a song called Dance With Me. And it was very Van Halen oriented. But I'd say it's sort of a mix between Van Halen and Prince.
How often do you play it?
Last year, I recorded songs for an album. And I ended up putting the keyboard, took the guitar line, the main riff, and I made a keyboard line with it, the same thing, and put that into a song. So my very first song ended up in a song, one of my most recent songs I've written.
Yeah.
years later.
What's interesting to recycle parts like that
Yeah.
too. Like it's forever ingrained in you. And I think one of the things you mentioned earlier is like songwriting is just kind of inherent in some people. The creative side of your brain fills in space. Whether that's like the auditory side effect of tinnitus, where like you go home and you're ringing, it's because your brain doesn't know that's there, so it just emits that.
Yeah.
Or your brain feels like there should be soundtracks. Some people just hear soundtrack. They just hear music all the time. And this thing appeared to you at 15 and was so demanding on your creative mind that it had to come back. How many years later is that? It's like 40 some years later.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing.
It was it was cool. And I think there's only two people who know what it is. Me and my best friend, Kevin. He was a guitar player of my first band. And so I was like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
And it's that riff though.
And so you have this first band. Touch is a great name, by the way. That's a fucking awesome name for like a high school band.
It was, yeah.
Once you bring a song to the table, is it time to change positions? Like when do you go front man for the first time?
When we did start the band, I was a drummer and lead singer of the band.
So where do you set up? Hi-hat side, left side of the stage, so you're facing the audience, or like what's the vibe?
No, I was still in the normal center position,
Okay.
drummer normal position, and and I sang to the hi-hats on the left side, me being right-handed. And I didn't do it because I was like, oh, I want to be the singer. I did it because we couldn't find a singer. And, excuse me, and I was able to sing like Journey and some of these other things, and I didn't think of it along the lines that it's anything special. We want to go out and do gigs, and we're doing like backyard parties and high school, just whatever. It's little festivals and, playing for free, of course. But I never thought of it about like it's anything cool to sing as well. I just did it because we didn't have a singer. Once I had a friend of mine, his name was Billy Bear, and I was like, hey, we're doing this band, and I'm way back there behind the drums, and no girls can see me back there. And we need to make a change. What do you think about coming over and trying it? We tried it at a rehearsal, and it just never went back. And so I became the lead singer, and he was a drummer, and we just continued on like that.
You went standalone lead singer. You're not playing guitar or anything.
Just lead singer.
Dude, the safety blanket that is your first instrument, and losing that and going up there and just grabbing a straight mic stand. Like, where did you start to learn the moves from? Or were you already kind of primed watching David Lee Roth or Prince? Like,
the only thing I had in mind was what Van Halen did. They were still, Karate Girl still uses things that I saw from my very first concert, which was Van Halen at the Coliseum. Which is, what's it called now? Like, it's a bank, some sort of bank.
It's a bank now?
Yeah,
I just call it roller derby surplus is what I hope it is, but I don't think it is, yeah.
It's just the name of a bank. It's like Heritage Bank Arena or...
Okay. I'm thinking of the wrong venue. Now it's Heritage Bank, and it used to be U.S. Bank.
Yeah, that's it. So that's where I saw Van Halen at. But watching that band and how, they're on this huge stage, right? They're on a big stage. And but the band, when it comes to hooks, they're like within arm's reach of each other. Their microphones were set up on stage to where they were so close to each other. I was like, what? I didn't think about it. It was cool. Later on in life, I realized what they were doing is that when you take a picture of the whole band, or when you take a picture, you have a great chance of getting the whole band in the shot when you're taking that picture. And there's a lot of great Van Halen pictures where they're all in the photo somehow. The drummer's in the photo, bass player, singer, and Eddie Van Halen. They're all in the same photo. So we still, no matter how big the stage is, we still set up to where we were within arm's reach of each other.
When did that actually occur to you? Like, you're a kid at the concert, you don't think about that till do you get home and you're like, is that why they're set up together? Or do you realize that later in your career?
Way later. It was more, and when I started doing my original band shows, and we were, playing on sometimes really big stages, I was like, hey, I don't even know if I thought about it like this is some conscious thing. I just realized that, for one, if you're on the stage by yourself and you have to fill up that part of the stage, well, maybe one guy's not such a strong performer. But if you get everybody tighter, everybody's sort of, jiving and, vibing off each other. And I just think it looks more powerful. I don't know if I really thought about it, though. It was just like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a very interesting consumer experience aspect to consider. And like once, it's one of those things that once you see it, it becomes obvious. You never forget about it. Like it's in the same vein of the way that you interact with your drummer as a bass player is everything.
Yeah.
It's the intimacy of the band. So like give a little, take a little kind of thing. The lead singer and the guitarist and the bass player. There's just these common dynamics where it's like our stage antics together are everything for this moment. If they never go back to back, we're kind of missing out on something. And you kind of learn those tricks of the trade subconsciously, but one day you have to kind of pull them into reality, sit down and say, these are what we're going to add to the show. Like I love the idea of a meeting where you guys are talking about the leaf blowers and the toilet paper.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, we have to go over this shit. So when does touch end?
It'd be hard for me to remember exactly.
Just give me a guesstimate.
Well, I guess it ended when I got an offer to go out and join a band in the Midwest. It was in Omaha. That's where the band was starting. And I guess it ended about then. I guess when this opportunity came up, lead singer for a band, and I went out and auditioned and got the part, and then I moved out there. And I was probably 17.
You're a Cincinnati kid getting cherry picked for an Omaha. What kind of band?
It was a cover. It was a touring cover band.
Okay.
It was called Johnny Law.
Cool.
And the none of the band was from Omaha. They just met there. There was some house there that somebody let everybody live in, so the band could rehearse there. And it was a nearly destructed house. When we got there, it was awful. But
And how did they find you?
there was an agency that. I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know if I know the answer to that. They somehow got my information and contacted me, though. It was that they were with this agency that did the work.
That's truly bizarre, and I love that as 17. What's your parents think?
Well, I remember when I went out and bought my plane ticket, and then said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," and it was not. It was not good.
It probably wasn't. Wasn't a good dinner, I'd hope.
Yeah. But I was like, this is what I'm doing. It's just what I did. I had to do that.
And did you feel that sense of independence as a 17-year-old, or did you just feel that compelled by the music?
I don't know if there's anything else I was very good at, and it's still debatable whether I'm good at music even. But it's just part of what the path was. The yellow brick road was sort of only in one direction.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else.
Let me intervene there as a friend and just say, if you don't find this as obvious as we do, you're great at it. You're great at the whole gamut of the thing, and I'm very grateful that you're here today. Okay.
Well, thanks. That's cool to hear.
You bad motherfucker, Jimmy.
That's cool to hear.
Absolutely. So you go out, you have a run as the front man of this somewhat random band. How long did you stay in Omaha?
We were there for, I think it was a month of rehearsing.
And then they just take off.
And then we were an actual road dog band. There was no home because everybody's from different places.
Yeah. So what's your first logistical move? Like, are you in a van? Are you in a bus? What are you doing?
Both. It was a van, and it wasn't some big van. It was just a normal sized van that the guys had built. And there was like 2 roadie guys that were part of this. And they built like these wooden bunks, just wood bunks in there. There were
wood in a sleeping bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have lumbar issues?
I luckily don't. I think it was good for me. I mean, I still look back at it and be like,
straighten my back out.
There was that, and then there was a gear truck, and the gear truck kept all the. It was traveled with full PA. This is back when you used to go into a place for a week. So you would start on like a Thursday, and you play all the way through Sunday.
What are the time slots? 10 to 2s?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, what a time for that age. So technically you can't drink. I'm sure bar situations are. Did anyone ask, are you of age when you walked in?
No.
Okay, you're just hauling a passive PA and they're just breaking your back doing it. And you'll have a 2-car situation and 6 people in the band?
There were 4 musicians.
2 roadies?
2 roadies and a sound guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long till you get the bus for the first time? What's the first day of the bus like?
The bus is very complimentary compared to what that was. The van, it was I don't recall thinking that anything was out of place because I didn't know any better. I was just excited to be doing something. And all these guys were much older than me. They were all in their 30s and were very experienced compared to me. I was super green and I was just, oh my God. It's the responsibility of a lead singer. If there's anything I could say today will that will resonate with any musicians out there, any lead singers that are coming up, the biggest responsibility of the lead singer is not the singing. It's what you do in between the songs to keep the show moving forward. What you say can be the difference in people who have not seen you before becoming fans of yours or thinking you're a complete jerk. And if whatever they think of you, they're going to think of the whole band. So that way that you treat yourself and the way you talk for the whole band is so important to the success of how a band comes off to people. Lead singers, you need to focus on how you're going to talk for the band. You're not talking for you. You're not talking for what your own personal likes are. They're a part of it, but you're talking for the whole success of the whole business.
And would you say you developed that whole process as a front man? And what's the Omaha band's name again?
Johnny Law.
Johnny Law. Is all that Johnny Law experience on the job, or is this something in between Touch and that band that really clicked for you? Like, here I am now with Pros, and we have longer gigs. What's that experience like?
I can distill it down to one thing, and this is the self-deprecating part that I was talking about. It's kind of fun. It's also kind of like, what the hell? Why did I do that? Why wasn't I more prepared? The band went and played in Tulsa. That was our first show, I remember, in Tulsa, and we were there for a week, and it was great. Came out and just the band sounded great. We're doing all this cool killer music, but the next show was in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Bit of a jump. We go to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we get there. It's cold. It's snowing, and I believe it was November. I'm just going to say November because it was snowing, and oh, it was because it was Thanksgiving week. And there's a reason why I wrote. It was Thanksgiving week. We go in and we start our first night, Thursday night. First, after the end, the first song, the bass rig went out, blew up, or stopped working. And the bass player is like, you got to talk to the crowd. He comes up and whispers to me, you got to talk to the crowd for a bit. I got to try to get the bass rig fixed. And it was like headlights and everything else stopped and nobody's breathing out there. They're just listening to hear, what am I going to say? And I remember it very well because somebody has video of it. And I'm always reminded of this when I say, so I hear you guys like to rock and party in the wintertime up here. Could it be a dumber thing to say as your first chance to talk to the crowd? Nope, it was the dumbest thing. And nobody said anything. Nobody reacted. Nobody knew what to say. Because for one, I asked a question, which unless you got a crowd already on your side, you don't ask questions. And it was just so stupid of a thing to say. It wasn't dumb.
It's just a dead end.
Yeah, it was just...
It's a straight dead end from the top. It's like now you have to dig your way out.
And you don't. And when you say something that dumb or stupid right off the bat, you can't really get out of it. It takes the rest of the show to just, you're just... and I did. That's when I recognized how important it was to have things to say. What are you going to say? So I started working, and I worked harder on talking to a crowd than I ever did singing. Singing, I was somewhat natural. But, man, the talking for the band was the hardest where I've ever worked on anything.
And does that come down to you, pen and paper, between gigs and hotels? Who do you watch to get that inspiration? How do you tighten it up? Is it just quiet thinking? Is it studying film? Is it stealing tips from heroes and whatnot?
Well, back then there was no YouTube. Back then there was no easy access to how do you get on and watch what David Lee Roth or Prince or any Steven Tyler might have talked to a crowd. You could do that now easily. But then there was just your thoughts and knowing how you sucked. That was the fuel
Yeah.
to get better. And so I just started writing out stuff, and then you start even saying it almost word for word, which sounds like you're word for word. But you start learning at least what works and what doesn't. There's no book out there that I'm aware of that teaches you don't ask questions in the first part of your show. You got to tell people what you're doing. You got to tell people how awesome it is to be here. You got to compliment them. You got to say how much fun you're having. They have to believe that, first of all, you're just a cool person before they're going to listen to you. And so I think the answer to your question is, though, it was just time spent me writing and like, what would this sound like? And then you discover like that.
Was there a breakthrough chunk? Did you eventually develop how you opened every single show on a cold audience? Like, do you go first song, hey, how you doing? Or do you go, Jimmy Lee King of Johnny Law, this is how it's going, sit or stand, I don't give a shit, let's shake some ass. Like, how does it roll?
I don't recall me being nearly that eloquent or even that well put together to have said something like that. It was probably more me trying to. I would do compliments. Wow, so we're glad to be here with you guys. Here's the name of the band, and we're gonna try to have a good time together tonight. It would be something simple like that, something I could get through.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get through what you can get through first, and what's honestly what was natural at that moment was probably what I was positioning from.
Yeah.
And then later on, you keep on, and I even tell people, and I'm trying to help people with this particular part of being in a band. I was like, you have different tool belts. When you go to play a festival, well, you pull out the festival tool belt. You put that one on. The things you're going to say to 8,000 people is a different tool belt. When you go to a wedding, you're playing at a wedding or a private event for a company, these are different tool belts, and you can't say the same things. You're at a biker rally. That's a whole other weird tool belt.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because you've got to figure that you've got to have these different things you say to different people if you're going to have a chance for them to listen to you.
Yeah. So how would you tell a lead singer to prepare for an event that they have no tool belt for?
The considering of what that first block, that the first time that you're going to have the microphone and the band stop playing, what is it that you're going to say to them? That first one is the most important, because if you have a captive crowd, if you have an audience that's there, they will decide whether they like you or don't like you for the rest of the night based off of the first things you say.
You're so right.
I mean, the band can sound great and everything, but when the band stops, it's like, what do you do with that time? You can use it to push the show forward, or you can make the show go backwards. You can make it stall. I'm always in favor for making it go forward. And to get the band on your side, I feel like it's you. If you can do that, and the first time you talk, you'll have a way, way easier night, for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But compliments. It's tell the crowd how much you like being there, how we're proud to be the band here with you tonight. Yeah. It's a thing I say every night at a Karate Girl show. We are proud to be your band, whatever it is. I know that some of the events we play, that people made the event sometimes based off of having our band there at it. I want them to know that it's a genuine, sincere thing, that we are proud to be the band you chose. Mm. I'd say for every lead singer, you can't hurt yourself by showing people you're proud to be the band there.
Yeah. I don't want to make a blanket statement about musicians, but I will say there's something about having a job where people applaud when you do it well that can very quickly bring up ingratitude for some of the other perks of the position, where it's like we really get affirmed publicly all the time. People are kind to you about that kind of thing. But it's an easy job to stop giving a shit unless people give you the best experience you've ever had. And it's like, it is a two-way street, honey, and it's a tough one in that.
It is.
So how long is your Johnny Law tenure?
You know what? In my memory, it feels like 10 years, but I think it was about like a year and a half.
No way.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half.
There's so much growing up in that year and a half, I'd imagine.
I was so green, but I could sing. I could sing all these different kinds of songs. I could sing Queensryche, and I could sing Journey, and I could sing AC/DC. I could sing all these different kinds of singers. I had no idea that there was anything special about me at all, though. Not to say that I needed that, but these guys were very, they were, they made sure that I didn't feel too special. They were
Very tough on you.
now. Yeah, now I'm really good. I'm still buds with the bass player of that band, but I was very young compared to them, and I think that a lot of them were just like, "Who the fuck is this?" And I could sing, and that was it. I could,
And you're learning the crowd work thing,
I sort of learned it. I really didn't get good at doing speaking to a crowd until later.
Yeah.
It took me having to just get a voice. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, when you do your shows, and I've paid attention to what you do because I just like it. I just think what you're doing is cool. Do you think along the lines of what you're going to say to a crowd, or does it just come out naturally? There's a guy, Greg Anderson, who is a singer for the band Prisoner, and he does other things still. I've talked to him. I'm like, do you think of these things ahead of time, or what is it that you do? He's like, no, I just kind of just whatever. And I almost can't believe it because he's so good at it. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but for you, I mean, what's it like for you?
Well, I think you've known me for what feels like the period of figuring that out. When we first opened for the Karate Girls in Hilton Head a number of years ago, and then I found myself incapacitated in the front seat of my own car, buckled in by my bandmates, just hammered, where I'm like, this is quite the day in the sun with you guys. You guys had that hooch. Do you remember that? It was the 4th of July in Hilton Head. It was one of the first times that we ever took the recipe on the road.
Uh-huh.
We played an opening set for y'all. It's blazing hot. It's at Tiki Hut when they had the stage pretty close. And we had a great time, but by the time that y'all are done playing, half of our band is just like buckled into the car, window down, like just give them water in a little bit. Well,
I don't remember that part of it, but
it was a messy day for us. But there was something about, because y'all bring such a character to the table, I was leaning more on the character that I was trying to build for my stage presence, and it's very much inspired by my heroes. It's inspired by my sister in some ways. So these days, like certain songs have very clear bits. If I'm going to go into this, I always start with this premise or this idea because I know it helps the vibe of the tune feel. But what really made the talking to an audience thing happen was that tin roof circuit, which is 10 to 2s in different cities, where they're just merciless animals of audiences, which I love them, but I will call them what they are. They're animals, okay, that destroy plumbing from the inside. I don't know how they do it. This place is flooded so many times during gigs. I'm like, what are you doing in there? But you have to be thrown to the wolves at some point if you want to have good crowd work. And there's still days where I question the confidence. I don't go in there the way I should. I don't set the precedent that I need to. And as I get older, it is more and more apparent of where the wins and the losses are, and you just try to keep ironing it out and getting a little more consistent. But there are song bits, there are general speaking bits. Like I love the don't ask them a question. My favorite question, if I have a really stale audience and it's acoustic, is Billy or Elton, pick a piano man. I don't give a shit. And I just have to get in their face, extract an answer, and now I just won somebody over, and I pissed somebody else off.
Right.
Really nice. Great way to go. But it's such a continual effort to figure that out. So after, one more time for the name, Johnny
Law.
Johnny Law. After Johnny Law, where do you go next?
There was the same agency had another band that they were starting to book called Oliver Magnum. And it was a heavy metal band. It was like tail end of the Iron Maiden era, sort of, what Iron Maiden did, that British sort of metal. Judas Priest, I'd say closer to Iron Maiden is where that band was at. But it was the tail end of it. And it was right before Pantera came out. And Pantera sort of changed the whole Metallica had come out, and they had changed, obviously, the whole metal thing into thrash. And so metal got completely obliterated by the Poisons. Like the Iron Maidens and Poisons were now part of the same pool.
They got lumped together somehow. Glam and operatic rock were one category for a moment.
Right, and it was this is just my opinion of it, but it's nearly what Nirvana did to the whole grunge thing. I mean, with some of these Poison bands, grunge came in, and just completely obliterated it. They did the same thing that Poison did to Poison, and bands like the whole glam side of that did to bands like Iron Maiden, I feel.
Yeah.
It's just this changing of, the times. But
What's an interesting thing for a working musician to consider the way that genres kind of get like broken up by the next big thing. And you, as a guy that's still trying to find that project and stay on the front end of it, have to keep changing your style. And you're learning some of the tools of the trade, but the way that works out from growing up in glam, kind of seeing the standouts like a Van Halen, but there still is, Poison, and there's Extreme, and there's things that kind of touch on all of it. And then there's a Queensryche, which leads you into like an Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, like the Operatics. And then you get this really approachable thing that comes along with Pantera and then nu metal. That was probably a very odd experience. You went from being like a bombastic, almost pirate-esque frontman, like the vibe is cool and elegant and like extreme in that, to now it's shorts and guys wearing sleeveless t-shirts, and
it's just funny you say that.
It's so much dirtier in a great way.
Yeah. Well, the Oliver Magnum was in Enid, Oklahoma, and it's just a weird spot, and it's kind of like a 4 or 5 stoplight town, and which I like though. And it was a neat town and a small town, but I don't know, I liked it. And I went and auditioned for this band, and I remember they were all just like, I could sing the music and I could sing it, I think, confidently. I'm not going to say I sang it well, but I sang it very confidently. And, and it's very Jeff Tate, very operatic, and a lot of range, and all the stuff that I could do confidently. But they liked me in the audition, but they're just like, we don't know if we can have you in this band because you're too good looking. Like you're and
pretty boys die with glam. It just happened.
Oh, that's what they recognized that I didn't, and I still remember that confusion. But I was like, what? I don't know if I consider myself to look anything. I just, but they were the leather. It was all full-blown leather, Judas Priest leather,
yes,
kind of thing. And that's what the band did. Now, I ended up getting the gig, and I lived in Enid, and and that was when the work to be a lead singer for a band had to kick in, because my first show with them was not gonna. They were like, "What are you gonna say?" In between songs.
They asked you that in rehearsal, dude. That makes the pressure so much to try a bit on your band.
Well, we were playing with Pantera. We started touring with
Stop!
No, we did shows with Pantera we did a lot of shows with Pantera, but
what album cycle was it for
the
Pantera?
very beginning.
No.
I sat in the van and actually listened to the demo of Cowboys from Hell with Vinny, the drummer.
That is awesome, because people don't know that before Pantera landed as what they were glam rock.
They were a cover band, just like Naked Karate Girls.
Dimebag didn't make that change for a little while, and there's a really weird evolution between like the hidden first album that is Pantera and Cowboys from Hell.
Yep.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So you listen to the album while you're already on the road, like he'd already been hearing the songs live, and he's like, "We just got the demo back. You want to check it out?" Is that how that goes?
It is. We had, Pantera was in Dallas, and Enid, Oklahoma was still pretty close to Dallas. So we were going down and playing in Dallas and Austin and Houston, and pretty regularly.
Dude.
But every time we went to Dallas, we'd team up with Pantera guys, and we'd go out and we'd actually play on their stage sometimes. They'd call us up to, the way you're like, if you have a musician in the room, we'd go to see them, and they'd have us come up and play.
That's sick.
And but
what kind of rooms you playing?
There was a couple different rooms that they played at in Dallas. One was Dallas, I think it was City Limits, and the other was the basement, where the Cowboys from Hell video was recorded.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we would go down there and
what's the cap? I'm sorry.
What was it?
What's the capacity on these rooms? Are they 500 seats?
They're probably, I don't know if they were that big. They're probably more like, they might have been 500 seat rooms.
Yeah. But even I think that 250 to 500 cap, like that's where you really do see the things they're about to push through a glass ceiling, and it's blunt force every time. And I've been talking to people about how I think Cincinnati is missing that room on a much more like current scale. 250 to 500 is where you start to see the seams come apart, and can something make it? So you're doing opening slots with them there. Are you touring outside of there with similar bands that left glam and went into this new, like, the new metal, like pre-grunge, but that kind of thing?
We played with a lot of different bands. We get teamed up on these nights. Like when we go to Houston, there was a band called, I think it was Hellion, if I'm not mistaken. It was trying to think. I could be wrong on it. There was another band in Houston that we played with pretty regularly, and they were a metal band, and they, yeah, we would go to different towns. In Austin, we'd do the same thing there. We'd have different bands that we'd team up with and play with, and it was so, okay, that was one of the things that I feel like I wish Cincinnati had more of. You go, the bands actually got together and hung out together. It was just part of what we did. It's the only thing that I really knew is that when I'd go into a new town, there'd be some band that we'd end up hanging out with. And there was not this competitive thing. It feels to me, like in Cincinnati, there's this competitive thing. And I'm like, what are we competing for?
Yeah.
There's no way to win other than the idea that the tide rises, brings everybody up.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I think the only place to be competitive is with other cities. You need to get to a place where Nashville has a beautiful market. Let's take their crown. Like Austin has a beautiful thing going on. Like, try to be that good, but always have open arms. And y'all have done a lovely job for that. Like I mentioned, you gave me an opportunity at a time where I was not opening for bigger bands, and it was lovely for me. Now, I did indulge too much in Ponch's hooch, but that is just what happens with that kind of shit. They probably did the same to you. You were a young man. They drank you under the bus, and they said, welcome to our city,
It was so cool, but I think the main point I was getting at is, I'll just bring it back and loop it around, is my talking to the crowd was so important. And you asked this, that they asked you what you were going to say, because Phil, everybody was in awe of Phil, the singer of Pantera.
Oh, okay.
And he talked on stage. And so I picked up some of the things that he did because the band I was in, Oliver Magnum, wanted me to be Phil. Now, I was never going to be able to be Phil. I had no want to be Phil. I wanted to just be a great me. But they wanted me to be Phil. And and Phil is, he's able to portray sort of that mean, thing. And I would never be able to portray that. I would just be so lame for me to be like some mean guy. I tried it. I honestly tried. I tried to do some things and it came up so cheesy.
Yeah.
And that, and there's there's some videos out there of it, as a matter of fact, and it comes off so not cool.
Yeah.
But trying to figure out what I was going to say in large part was because I was going to be opening for Pantera.
Yeah. Were there other bands that you were opening for at that point in time that felt like Pantera that you couldn't believe that it was Pantera over them at times? Was there anybody you opened for where like that should have been the next big thing?
No. Pantera was
they were the clear
biggest
win.
Pantera was the biggest thing that was ever going to happen in that timing. And it's why they're still...
What a cool place to be then as a front man and to learn and to have those relationships.
It was very... And I got to hang out with Daryl and Vinny. I hung out with them way more than I did anybody else. But I hung out with Phil a little bit. And, Phil was actually... maybe he wouldn't want to... You might know this, but he was just like a really nice guy. He was a really just cool guy. Now, what he had to betray, though, that he was, this altered ego thing, and he did it very well. And
yeah.
He's, I lived in New Orleans for a while, and he was friends with some of the people I lived with and down there, and so every now and then, we would get together, and I picked up more off of learning his the way he was off stage, to the way he was on stage, of how important it was to have that difference.
And so he's your character development where you really saw it. Like, you can form a guy that's going to be on stage and you can walk off and just be you.
I don't even think I was able to process it like that. It was more of, there's like this chunk that I need to get better at. There was this chunk I need to understand. But just getting to where I could speak for that band like Oliver Magnum, which was this heavy metal act, I had to really, really think about what I was going to say in between songs. And it was very, I scripted it out and just like reading lines from a movie until I could do it confidently.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after Oliver Magnum, what's your tenure in that? How long do you stay?
Again, that's hard for me to remember. It's probably 2 to 3 years of that. I know I turned 21 in Oliver Magnum, and I remember that was the last time I was ever drunk. Was when I turned 21.
Wow.
I've not been drunk since. And
And within that band, so you come in and you learn the material from a past album or what they're working on. How much are you writing during your time with the band? How many projects?
I wasn't writing at all. They didn't. It was the old, hey, I've got some ideas. They're like, oh yeah, that's cool.
So they would just hand you lyrics and sing you lines?
Yeah, and
Wow.
I had no part of the writing. There was maybe a little bit of me adding things, but there was no me writing in that band.
Did that bother you?
It bothered me in a different, in a sort of a. It bothered me in some way, but at that point, I would think I was still just trying to get my footing and grip of even what I was doing.
Yeah.
And
Did you have any writing that you were doing in the background of that band? Did you still have that thing moving, or were you kind of just focused on frontman initiative right now?
I did. I kept working on guitar. I kept I kept writing stuff, but stuff that I naturally didn't write things that were in that vein, and so I just kept working on playing guitar, and that's how I ended up being able to write music, was on guitar.
So you leave that band, and what is next?
Well, my buddy Kevin, who we played for my first band, Touch, he had went out and went to, is it GTI or GIT? It was the Guitar Institute
Okay.
in California.
I'm not familiar, but I think I know what you're talking about.
There was a sort of this music college at the time that was made for guitar. I think it was called GIT, or GTI, one of the two. And he went out to that, and his goal was for us to get back in a band. So he went out and did that, and came back, and he came through Enid, Oklahoma to visit, and pretty much just said, hey man, I want us to get back in a band together. And I was like, well, hey, if we're going to do this, let's, I'll jump out of Oliver Magnum and we'll go do it. But we're going to have to do it 101,000,000%, because I'm leaving this thing so I can go do this thing with you. And I was dating a girl in Oklahoma City. And so I set it up to where we could go live with my girlfriend and her girlfriend. And so we did. We went there and we just sat and started demoing on a 4-track, that little Tascam 4-tracks. I don't know if you ever used one of those.
I never personally did. What was your breakup with Oliver Magnum like? What's it like to tell these guys, like, hey, my buddy's back and I'm leaving?
I went in and basically I just said, part of the understanding that I had limits, and they were limits that were going to keep the band from doing what they wanted to do. They wanted to keep on edging more towards Pantera and being able to tour with them. And they wanted to start dressing like, in jams and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, I wasn't going to be the right guy for that. And I just saw it, and I just told him, I said, hey, I don't think I'm really the right guy for the band. And you guys are heading this way, and I really am not, I want to write music, and I can't do it in this band.
I'm glad that that's somewhat amicable, though, in a situation like, it's a really messy thing to leave a project.
It is.
And sometimes it takes hearing someone who's done it before and told you, like, it can be okay as long as you're transparent with why. Even if the why is unpleasant, you can move into the next chapter and wish somebody well, especially in the world of music and the pursuit of art. But it's scary like any other breakup, and it's admirable at a point in life that you knew, even though this thing had legs, this project could go somewhere. Like, no one could say no to an opening slot with Pantera, unless they really meant it.
Yeah.
So clearly you really meant it. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So when your buddy comes back, one more time for his name.
Kevin
Kevin
J. Miles.
He's the one from Touch that you still keep up with.
He and I are still. I spoke at his wedding. I stood up for him at his wedding, and we're still best friends. We've been best friends since 11 years old.
Did you know that he was out at this Guitar Institute preparing to come cherry pick you again?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know that's what his plan was. I didn't know that it even mattered that much to him, because when I left, we just. I was trying to get very serious about being a singer, and I was like, man, I spent hours. my parents worked third shift, so at night I would practice singing, and I would try to sing all these songs that I couldn't sing until I somehow could sing them. Like the first, The Warning album by Queensryche. I would just sing the whole album. And the demo album by Queensryche, I would just try to sing that, and I would until I could sing it. And somehow I got to where I could sing it. But it's different people were moving at different speeds. And I think Kevin, when he went to go to GTI or GIT, whatever it was called, I think he was using that as a way to prove to himself that, hey, he really wanted this.
Yeah. You're kind of doing the same thing. You're just sharpening the sword in your own way.
Yeah.
What is it about Jeff Tate's style that makes him a vocalist that people want to emulate in that type of way?
Just a mastery level. When you hear him,
Yeah.
you know that guy is on a mastery level of singing. The Operation Mindcrime album, are you familiar with it at all?
I am only familiar with any Jeff Tate stuff because of Danny Laverde. I think that's how you pronounce him. He's a drummer from Cincinnati. He participated a lot at the Bell and the Bear Open Jam because his mother. Yeah. So
He played with it.
he played with him for a long time. That's the only place I ever saw those videos. But I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, it is clean operatic rock, and it is a very refined type of mastery of it.
Yeah, his having a low end voice, which I don't have a great low end voice, but he has the full range from low end to this very high range. I think there's few singers that have it like he does. There's others, and everybody be like, oh no, this guy's better. And
Yeah.
the Rob Halfords, and there's still, Rob Halford's another, or my favorite of all is Paul Rogers from Bad Company,
Okay.
and his voice is still, if I could,
You could take any of them.
yeah, I'd take Paul Rogers' voice.
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting that some musical artists are almost more instructional, just in the way that they rationalize the instrument within the song. It's something about being approachable like that. Like David Lee Roth is something that you can sing with your buddy in the car. Like you just learn those lines.
Yeah,
Queensryche, people can't pull that off, so
Right.
it becomes educational material. Same thing with the Van Halen. So much of the guitar sound there is defined by people who learned from either Eddie or Randy, and they sound totally different but very close in that kind of, to do that I have to practice. To practice this right, I have to learn how they learned,
Yeah,
So, one more time for your friend's name.
Kevin
You two reconnect. You've moved to Oklahoma.
City. Yeah,
What is this build like? You just left an agency and a really successful band.
Yep.
The Fear.
Yep. There was probably no more opening slots with Pantera. That's although we did get to hang out with them a little bit in my I'll get to that. We're in Oklahoma City now. We're in a little bedroom, and got the 4-track Tascam, and we're just putting together ideas, and they're super primitive, super simple, but there's something. I will always say that Kevin and I, throughout our lives, there's never been this great roadmap of what we're doing or where we're going, but we were moving in a direction. He and I drove out to look at this guitar school in California. We drove out there in a 71 Nova, and he ran out of gas on the way to pick me up. Ran out of gas. And so, but that did not stunt us at all. Stunt our moving.
To run out of gas on the way to picking you up for a cross country ride, it's just not the confidence boost that I would need to get in the car with somebody.
We were unfazed.
It was just so epic.
Yeah, and we, like I said, we might not have ever been going in the smartest, greatest way, but we were always moving. We were always moving in some direction. So when we go to Oklahoma City, there's no handbook on how we do this. We're just trying to do something, and every day that we're putting in hours into writing and forming how you write songs and how you put vocals, how you come up with lyrics that are worth a shit. I mean, lyrics is still the most mystifying of all the music stuff, because it's what words might be interesting to you might be not to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And does it tell a story? Do you tell a story? Do you tell something that's your story? Or, how do you connect? Do you do all these things? It's the weirdest part of the whole songwriting process for me. And but that's what we were doing. We were just trying to see what we can do. And as many people say, you got to write 100 bad songs before you get a good one. Well, we wrote a bunch of bad songs, until we were finally moving into better stuff.
What's the first moment where it's like, oh, that one's worth something? How long in are you?
Well, interestingly enough, there was a song that is still probably the one that stands out called Pure Adrenaline. And it's still, when I listen to it, I'm like, it's still got that sort of, because it was sort of like a mix between Soundgarden and Chili Peppers, that band was. Soundgarden, Chili Peppers, and Van Halen.
Yeah.
All those in a mix.
What an epic period in rock for those two to kind of be fresh inspiration. You moved out of the Pantera field, and that stuff's on the scene. It's like, God damn, this is getting intense.
Yeah.
So you two write this song. Is it just an acoustic and vocal demo, or did you eventually track everything for full Pure Adrenaline?
We tracked everything on the 4-track.
Is it anywhere available?
I don't know if it's probably somewhere, on a cassette tape, because you record it on a cassette tape. But we do have that on, we did record it at a studio, and I still have the recordings of that stuff.
That should hit the internet at some point. Okay, keep us moving. So you two, do you hit the studio before you have the band? Do you find the elements you need?
No, we had a friend of ours was a bass player. His name is Danny O'Brien, and back in Cincinnati. And we got him to move out to Oklahoma. And the drummer, his name was Jim Russell, and he was also in Cincinnati. And we got them both to move out to Oklahoma City, and we rented a house, and we took the whole living room and made it our jam room, and we rehearsed 2 times a day. Everything we knew and did, we rehearsed in the early part of the day, and we did it again at night. 2 full-blown rehearsals every day.
How long's the show?
I think at that point we were doing a lot more opening slots, so probably 45 to an hour.
All original. And are you playing guitar at all on this project, or just frontman?
Just frontman.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you get the show as tight as possible. Like, what were your prospects at that time? Did you have to find a club in Oklahoma City to say, like, keep us as your opener? Or are you trying to reach back out to the community you already formed and just hit the road and go?
We were doing both. We were trying to make relationships in Oklahoma City, and that's how we would get opening slots that would come through that would allow it. We got to play on the same night with Tool. We got to play on the same night with like Henry Rollins. So we. I think I hope I'm wrong. I'm right on that. Kevin will correct me if I'm not. But we then were, because Oklahoma City is still 3 hours from Austin, 3 hours from, or 4 hours to Houston. We were picking up gigs trying to go Dallas, Austin, Houston, and so we were doing both.
Okay. And how do you kind of move forward with the project at that time? Like, did you have to source the cash to go do that first demo on your own? Is everyone working jobs outside of music to kind of pay for this? Are gigs paying enough?
We were making money playing gigs, but very little, probably $100 a gig maybe. But we would, but we all lived in the same house, and we had one bank account, and no kidding, we didn't realize how poor we were. None of us did. But we were poor, but we made enough money. Each of us got like individual jobs. I was working at a salvage yard, and I think Kevin was too. I can't remember what the other guys were doing, but
is a salvage yard like a car salvage yard? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or are you into cars before that point in time?
I was, but it was more the girlfriend that we had. Her mom owned a salvage yard, and so she hired us
awesome.
To work in there. And we were doing odd jobs, building fences, doing roofing, just whatever we could do.
Yeah.
And we were trying to just make enough money to be able to stay there and keep rehearsing. And it wasn't some great like, oh man, this is the plan. We were just doing it because that was what was in front of us.
That's awesome.
I wish it would have been planned.
Well, how long does the band last?
We're probably there for a couple years, probably a year and a half maybe. Probably in that range. And then we moved to Dallas. Made the jump and we moved to Dallas. And we found this warehouse down there that was $200 a month for the warehouse. But we had to go in and make a home out of it. It was just concrete.
Stop.
And
So, does the girlfriend move with you?
no,
Okay, cool.
stayed in Oklahoma
Yeah.
City.
So you guys now occupy a warehouse, a completely. Did you bring your beds and shit? You sell everything in Oklahoma City, start fresh there?
That's a good question. It seems like we got mattresses maybe down there. We each had an individual like full size mattress.
Okay, you got it made down there. So no bed frame, just four
Oh
dudes
yeah.
concrete.
Oh yeah.
Dude, this is getting
Just
so
right,
sketchy.
yeah, put it right on the floor. And while we were building, we would all at night we all slept next to each other. Yeah,
So it's such an intimate, grimy way. It is rock and roll as hell, but it's so intimate and grimy.
hmm
So you guys moved down there, building the rehearsal space. Still 2-a-day rehearsals.
No, this is actually the fall of the band.
Okay.
As we because we were trying to get a place to rehearse, and we finally did. We got the rehearsal space built, 2 walls thick, so we wouldn't have the noise problem. But by the time we got to that point, though, it was just we were broke. I mean, and the gigs in Dallas, we did little gigs here and there, but we'd started like working for a roofing company, me and a couple guys, and Kevin, Danny, and myself, and it just got to where we were just underwater by trying to make a home, and we didn't have the money to do it, but we were somehow just drifting and just going with it, and it proved to be too much.
What was the band name?
Freak Brothers.
Freak Brothers. Cool.
Freak Bros. Yeah.
In that situation, you talk about like, I wish we had a plan. Like, what advice would you give to bands that are trying to relocate as a group, as someone that's gone through that?
You know what? That's a weird question because I don't know if there is one plan that's going to work for everybody. For us, it ended up being it was just too much from us to continue on with no money, and I don't know how many people are out there that would be in that same situation. It seems like people are a little bit better. Most of the musicians I know have some sort of parent or somebody who's supportive of it and can help push things along.
I think a lot of bands do up and go. Like the whole band goes to NYC or they go to Nashville. They hit like a major market. They kind of split up and do their gigging. Then they come back and they have this project that is kind of center in their life. And Dallas is so interesting because I wouldn't imagine that there's a musical economy that you can hop into. So you have to go odd jobs, and then that is the situation. So who kind of brings up the beginning of the end? Do you set everybody down and say like, I don't think this is working? We live in a warehouse, if you guys don't know, and it's not comfortable.
So the drummer, I guess there's a lot of stuff that happens in between, but the drummer ends up coming in one day as a trailer and wants to go back to Oklahoma City, be with his girlfriend. He had a girlfriend in Oklahoma City, and there's a bunch of different stuff I could add, but just to answer your question, is he basically just was like he was done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's more typical of most band breakups. It's like one guy says it's over, and then it's like we'll figure it out from here. So where do you go next?
We auditioned some drummers, but I feel like we were a 4-person team. We were a marriage of 4 people, so it was much like a divorce, I guess, the feeling of that. And we were just in a. I mean, when he left. Well, the deal was as he was working at a record store because he really didn't have skills for, building. And Kevin, Danny, and I were still building this place to live, trying to build a place that we could live. And he was working at a record store, and we were basically living off the money we could make, and his paycheck as one thing. So when he left, there was no more money coming in from him. And we had like $17 between the 3 of us. So we went and got a real job at a roofing company as a 3-person crew. And then, it was so discouraging doing that. And we auditioned for some drummers, but we just couldn't find a guy that could really work. And with Jim in the band, we were a pretty strong band. And we were also the tallest band around. I was the shortest guy, and I'm 6 feet tall. Everybody, and so Jim was 5'11", I think, but Kevin was 6'3", and so was Danny, who was 6'3". So we're like this really tall band. We had a guy from Geffen Records that had come in, and he kept coming in to see us at our shows and was bringing different people, and things were leaning towards us, where, there was a point of the sword, possibly with Geffen Records. But Jim came in and just up and quit right out of the,
Yeah.
that ended it. Then we stayed there for a while, and then until we all just went separate ways.
Yeah. That's such a fascinating change between then and now in the industry. Like, you can refine a project almost anywhere in the country, and if the right person sees you, they can pluck you out of that and put the assets behind it and make this special. Versus, I don't think labels have the same interest anymore of going from that level to the next. They'll let you get far more prime, show you have a profitable model, et cetera, et cetera. So it's got to be wild at some point to find yourself on a roof in Dallas, Texas, saying, I left home as a 17-year-old kid to sing in bands, and I finally have my material up front. I'm a good front man. We have a great band, and the bottom falls out. And then it's like, was that the hardest pivot of any band thus far in your life?
Oh, yeah. No, it was horrible. I went through, I didn't even know it at the time, but I went through a pretty horrible depression because when Jim left, it was one thing. There were still the three of us. But then when Kevin and Danny left, I stayed in Dallas by myself. And I was there for a while. And it just was, it was just tough. It was just a tough time. And it was a depressing time. And then I know I left for a bit, and I remember subleasing the apartment to somebody. But then I came back, and I stayed about a year in Dallas by myself. I didn't date. I just read books. I read like 3 books at a time. The morning I had a book. At night I had a book. And I had a book, 2 books at my bed. I would read one in the morning when I woke up. I would read one at night before I went to bed. And then I had one down on like my coffee table. I didn't watch TV. I just worked and I made money. I got a job at this place called Medieval Times as a waiter. I made pretty good money doing that, and so I just was trying.
What is Medieval Times?
Medieval Times it's a restaurant. There's a few of them still in the United States. The one in Dallas is still there, but they do like jousting and like this whole knights and the kings and queen thing. It's this big show.
There's no greater like rise of a hero story than just like the final, and you're sitting there flipping pages on a book and waiting tables at Medieval Times while a guy gets to final countdown. It'll be perfect, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
To be without a band for the first time in your life at that time seems the most disheartening. I think a lot of people go the time without seeing somebody or a job that's just okay. But like, what's different between you and most people is from that, whatever that age was on, you had a sense of purpose that I think art gives a very distinct idea of. All my friends who felt a sense of purpose because of sports fell out of that love in high school when they get cut from a team or they have the first big injury.
Yeah.
I have been hooked on the same thing that got me when I was 9 years old, and like that sense of purpose becomes so much a part of your personality. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's what you think about. So to be a front man who's now standing in Medieval Times saying, "Would you like another turkey leg, sir?" It's like, it's such a kick in the ass because you can't say I'm a musician because I don't have a band. It's like, what a time for like mental refinement. What's the most important book you read during that chapter?
It's interesting. I think it would have been Mists of Avalon by Marianne Zimmer Bradley.
Which is about?
It's about King Arthur legend, but written through the eyes of King Arthur's sister.
Dude, I think the Medieval Times place just had you on a bed.
It's interesting. I don't think I ever connected those two things.
You're like, I bought some chainmail and I like to wear it when I go to bed, but I don't think there was anything really seeping over.
That's interesting. I don't think I ever connected those things. The one thing you said that I don't think I realized is that was the first time in my life that I had been without a band. And that was probably part of why, looking back on it, and I've never thought of this, that it was such a hurtful thing and such a depressing time, because I was like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah. I think the the drive for fulfillment and to feel useful is like one of like the core things of being a person. Like if you get fed and there's a roof over your head, the next thing you want is to feel useful. And you put all this time into being great at something, and then you have nowhere to put it for a year. That is so heavy.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at your friends in your life right now or people that you care about that are really down on their luck, find a way to remind them that not only are they useful, that they are great at something. Because every person deserves that.
Man, it's such a cool thing, and I've watched you and paid attention to you enough to where all of your messages are about how to be better, how to feel better, and you have this quality about you that, man, I love seeing. It's is genuine. I could see, some people could say that stuff, and I don't know how genuine it is. But after the reoccurring theme that you have, it's one of the things that made me want to know more about you as well.
That means a lot, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, it's we need more people with that. It makes me even want to be better when I hear things like that. So it's very cool.
I think I come from a very unquestionably lucky place where it's like we're sitting in my parents' basement right now. Like you said, like most of your friends that get to do this, like they do have supportive people in their life. If my wife didn't love me enough to say like, keep doing the thing that you love, that'd be a real question in my road. If my parents didn't feel that way, that'd be a real question in my road. And I feel so lucky to be surrounded people that have the utmost confidence that I am good at something and I should be doing that. And so, boys, that's the only thing I can give other people. And that's why if you're gonna say Jimmy Lee King's good, I'm gonna yell back, he's fucking great, and you're crazy. It's just important, and I feel very lucky to that. So thank you for saying that. It is a blessing that I try to wear very proudly. I am so fortunate to get to do this and to get to hang out with you like this today.
Absolutely.
So,
where's that come from you? Where do you get this? Because you've got a different light about you. Where does it come from?
I think I got good parents. My mother was a stay-at-home. I'm her youngest kid. My nana was very important in my musical life. Again, like when you just find enough people at a young age that treat you like you have purpose and something special to give, there's a security in my heart that means I can venture out a little bit more with people. And I think one of the odd things about our jobs is it attracts a lot of strays, a lot of folks that are looking for something, and I can't even tell you what it is. I have found a career in making myself available to people in a companionship that is very obscure. It is online like this. Somebody might be mopping their floor right now, having a shit day, and being here with Jimmy Lee fucking King is the best thing for them. Or I'm playing a song for the person that came in here on their first date, or they're going to be out here by themselves because they just went through the breakup. Like every single corner of life intersects with this very whimsical thing that you and I get to do. And that gratitude is just like, it is deep. I know I'm lucky. Shit is cool. And in a lot of ways, I have been safeguarded from a lot of the hardships of life. So instead of being embarrassed or shy about that, I just need to go full speed ahead in being there for people in the best way that I know how. And you do that 100%.
I do find myself, when, I'm sorry to get off topic a little bit, but, and when Karate Girls, we rebranded recently to Karate Girls from Naked Karate Girls. And when we started adding in the different musicians so we could do multiple shows, the one thing I didn't realize is how much I would enjoy the idea of giving other musicians work and be able to, hey, on a Saturday night, man, we might have 18 people working on that night because of this business model. I mean, we could be selling hairbrushes, but we're selling, a band that goes out and plays music. And it feels good to have some platform to where guys can go out and make good money and be treated well for being a musician in this town.
Yeah.
And hopefully that, keeps on transcending into the ways that these other musicians, deal as they keep on becoming, whatever they become.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people in my life that I get to talk to about the pride I feel with payroll every week and knowing that, like, guys that I see the world and beautiful parents and musicians and creatives, and I put cash in their pocket so they can go out and live their lives. And similar to you, and probably somewhat inspired by y'all's model and the wedding band model that I work in. It's like it's a big roster of people that I say, please come and go as it serves you. Do best by you and your family. You will always have a home here because you've been so good to me.
Yeah.
And I have bandmates that have moved to Nashville, or my closest drummer just moved to Spokane, Washington. I have nothing but joy in my heart that we got that chapter together, because the more things in this life that you cling to, the more you'll be let down when it slips through your fingers. It all will. So enjoy the good gigs with that bandmate while you got them and move on. But it is so nice to bring something like that to the table. You and I provide work for people that we think are excellent. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So let's hop back in. You're still living in Dallas. The band is out. You go through this really intense, like, final cut. I love that image. I'll never get over that, dude. You and chainmail just sitting there. Chainmail, your underwear, a cup of coffee. You know you got to go in tonight, but you're staying safe about it. When do you decide to go to the next town, and where do you go?
While I was there, I decided that I wanted a complete change, and I started doing all of my training to become a scuba diving instructor. You didn't know I was going to go there, did you?
No. What the fuck are you doing? Was there a scuba diving book in here?
There, what it was is I found a scuba shop in Dallas that.
That's the best opening to any chapter. I found a scuba shop in Dallas.
Yeah.
Period.
And I just started doing all my training. I figured out what I had to do to become a scuba diving instructor, and I had to get through all these preliminary classes before I could go take the instructor exam.
And you aren't intimidated at all by the bureaucracy that surrounds modern scuba? I mean, like anything, the hours you have to put in are ridiculous. You go from being a frontman to a scuba instructor. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I went through the most difficult experience in my life with it, because they don't want just any person getting an instructor exam license. They make it very tough. So I did all my preliminary classes in Dallas, and then I went and moved to Hollywood, Florida. And so I could go for 3 months of the instructor school.
How much did that cost?
I don't even want to. I don't know, but it was about probably 1 million times more than I had. So what I did is I worked at this as a waiter to build up my money so I could pay for it.
That final countdown bit just got so much more elegant, where you're in chainmail reading the book, and then at the end of the night you're in the bathtub just working on your dunk, how you're kicking off the back of the boat. Where do you get that idea from? What is the instigator of scuba?
When I was in Oklahoma City, I got certified to become a scuba diver, and this was me and my girlfriend at the time and her girlfriend. We all went and got certified. So
in Oklahoma City?
In Oklahoma City.
Where's a body of water that you could scuba?
They're just lakes. So they had a special at this dive shop in Oklahoma City where you get certified for $50. But it was in the winter, and you had to do when you do a certification for scuba, you do all your work in the pool. That's warm in the pool. But your checkout dives, where you get certified, we went to a lake, and it's in the middle of winter, and you can imagine how cold it was, and the wetsuits and that whole business. But I just was very natural with learning scuba diving.
Oh my gosh.
When I got into instructor school in Hollywood, the first day you walk in, they say, we're going to teach you how to become instructors. You have to pass the math exam. What math exam? Or what are we talking about? I have no idea. There's some physics and calculus test that you got to pass to be able to get your instructor exam. So they're like, yeah, that's for you. So you take care of the math, but we'll make you instructors. Well, the math, I had not even gone through pre-algebra in high school. And here I'm going to have to pass a calculus and physics exam, which they were trying to trip up, and many people did not make it. And on the instructor exam, which cost $345, which might have been $3,000.
Yeah, what's the year?
94. Okay. 94. I had to go through 3 months of pure hell and agony, because I would go and do all the stuff I had to do, all the dives, and it was probably 300 dives I did just in school
In Hollywood.
in Hollywood, Florida.
So you go down there, you get an apartment, you're going to the school.
Yep.
How long are the days? You doing like 8-hour days of this?
7 a.m. until however long it took.
Wow.
And I would go, and it was all day. You'd start out with diving, then you'd go to the classroom, then you go back to diving in the evening. Then I would go back to my apartment and work on math. And every day, it was just an everyday thing. I lost about 20 pounds, which I didn't have to lose at that time. It was so nerve-wracking.
How are you making money to live off of?
It was the money that I saved up from going to being a waiter in Dallas.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't work.
I really hope it was like truly just like change in a bag coming up from medieval times. Like you have to be paid in like the classical kinds of money. You know, that's just a beautiful image.
Yep.
So you go out there. How are you learning calculus? Just from a book? You're teaching yourself calculus? That
yep.
is fucking gnarly.
Yep.
Okay, so you're doing that in the evening. You do 3 months of this training. Is there immediately an employment opportunity?
Yes. After I went through the instructor exam and passed, they give you a chance. You're allowed to miss 2 questions. They do give you that. If you missed
Thanks.
you miss 2 questions on the entire exam, you get the opportunity, that's how they worded it, to come back the next day and do it again. But if you miss any more than 2 questions again, you have to go to the next city because the instructor exam moves. It's not in one city. It keeps moving. So you would have to go to the next city.
So why did you choose Hollywood, Florida to do it?
Well, it was Florida.
Okay.
And
Sounded good at
someplace
the time.
warm.
Yeah.
And I looked at different dive schools, and it's the one that I liked for whatever reason.
After enough cold Oklahoma City dives, you were like, let's hit some warmer waters.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I spent the whole time getting through that. To answer your question, though, I got out of instructor. I passed my instructor exam, and immediately they had placement assistance. So there was an opportunity to go to Grand Cayman. I'm like, yep.
That's excellent. So give me an example of a question on this that you can't miss. Like there's the math portion where it's pretty cut and dry what is a right and wrong answer. But like, is it just situational?
Well, everything was it's a lot of things to do with your gear, dive tables, being able to understand the whole being an instructor to keep people alive, buoyancy, all these different laws and different things that you have to learn to be able to be a knowledgeable, confident instructor.
Did you fall in love with science for the first time in your life during this?
I think I've always liked science. I did well in school with science.
Okay. Science,
that's the only thing I did
like
well
physics and math, you were always good at, or not so much
No.
math?
with.
Okay.
No, not math.
Okay.
Math and I didn't get along at all.
Calculus by yourself is still like one of the craziest things I could imagine.
Well, I remember one of the questions was like, there's a motor that weighs 90 pounds, and it's at 94 feet of seawater. You have 2 50-gallon barrels to put air into to lift the motor off of the seafloor safely. How much air do you put into the barrels?
So it's a displacement factor. Like those are underneath the water. Why do you need to lift the motor out? To avoid contact with a diver? Is it a complicated?
It's like if a motor was to have fallen off of a boat and you're trying to lift it to the surface safely.
Okay.
So
that's crazy.
it was crazy. And
you immediately make this jump to Grand Cayman.
immediately go to Grand Cayman. Yep.
Do you need a passport and all that for this?
Not for Grand Cayman, I didn't.
Okay, cool.
No, I apologize. I did have to have a passport for that.
So what
Virgin
are you
Islands.
moving with at this point in time? What did you bring from Dallas to Hollywood, then to Grand Cayman?
By that time, I had distilled everything down, sold everything. It was almost like the closer I got to getting through dive school, my money was going up to nothing, and it was nearly on zero by the time that I got this job opportunity. So I did have a truck. I sold it.
Yeah.
And had that money, and which isn't much, but it's what I took to Grand Cayman.
What was your shtick as an instructor before they get in the water? Were you unbelievable at that because you're a front man? Far above the entertainment value these other folks are taking it out. Like, were you just making a killing on tips and whatnot?
It's interesting. That's an interesting question because at first, when I first started working and going out and being a dive master. When you're an instructor at an island, you don't do much teaching. You're just taking people diving.
Yeah.
But you have the designation of being an instructor, so you're safe to be with. So my tips sucked. I was getting sucky tips. And the guy I worked for, he finally, he said, how are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm doing okay. And how's your tips? And I was like, I don't really know what everybody else is making, but I'm making about this much. He's like, yeah, that's not good. You're going to have to make telling your dive briefings, you got to make stories out of them. You got to make it you. You got to turn it into something people are interested in before they go on the dive. And I was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, I can't tell you what you need to do other than you need to make it interesting. So I went back and started making up stories that were completely just lies.
And is it the same thing? Just finally.
It was very much.
Okay, cool.
Very much. I go back and I make up these stories about pirates that got beheaded over here they got caught.
You just couldn't lie to these people about the sites. Yeah.
Complete lies.
This was the rock that they pulled the sword out of.
Yeah, Blackbeard used to come here, and there'd be all these things that I would just make up, but people would just be on the edge of their seat, like, and it didn't matter to them if it was real or not.
Is this where Ponch lore comes from when you make up these stories about Ponch? Like, is this somewhere between all these?
This is real. This is no lore. This is what I was doing to survive.
No, but that's what I'm saying is like you had to make these stories up for a scuba version of you. So it's like by the time you're writing storylines for a Ponch or something like that, it's like you're so good at fabricating in front of their eyes. And it's like, what a weird cross training. And then I'd imagine once you get under, you need to entertain people with just gesture. You don't have any audible. So what's that like to learn? How to intensify the experience underwater?
Oh, that's another fun experience. My first night dive I was on in Cayman. There were 3 girls that went with me. And I'm the dive leader and dive master. We go down and there is nothing. Where we are, we're doing this night dive, there's nothing. There's just sand. And we all got lights. And I'm trying to do something, as you just said, to make it interesting. I'm not able to talk. And I see something sort of over a little bit. And it's just slithering around a little bit. It's like some sort of eel. And when I get over to it, it goes into the sand and burrows itself into the sand. And it's about half of its body it's kind of like a snake-looking thing, but it's an eel. And I go over, and the girls, of course, they're right on me. And I'm kneeling down in the sand. They're right over my shoulders looking at this. And so I'm like, it's the only thing around. So I kind of grab it and go to pull on it a little bit. Doesn't do anything. I grab it again a little bit harder. And when I do, this thing starts backing out of the sand. And I realize at that point, I can't move. The girls have me pinned. They're on my shoulders. Thing comes out. It's not an eel. It's a sea snake. The most venomous thing on earth. Now, I don't even realize it at this moment what it is. Not until I went back and looked it up in one of my books, the stripes and what it was. It was a full-blown sea snake that I had grabbed a hold of, and right in front of my face like a cobra, back and front, going left and right in front of my mask. And then because I didn't move, though, it just realized I wasn't a threat, I guess, and then it went on. But a sea snake is like 3 seconds, you start feeling paralysis, and within 10 seconds, you're dead.
Oh, my God, dude.
I've never touched anything in the ocean ever since. 1,500 dives I've been on, I've never touched anything ever since.
What was the reaction of these 3 women when you got up to the surface?
Well, again, I still didn't know exactly what it was. I realized it wasn't an eel and it was a snake of some kind. They were, because I didn't act like it's anything big. I got some big idea.
It was just the action that you provided for the day.
Yeah.
They tip well? For you risking your life?
I can't remember.
Assholes.
Yeah.
So you spent how many years in Grand Cayman doing this?
I spent about a year in Grand Cayman, and it was the company was still a new kind of idea. They were trying to be like a dive lodge, and but just it wasn't really a super busy business for them. So I got another opportunity in St. John, Virgin Islands, and I took it, and I was there for about 2 years, and it was great. That's where I really got all my diving in,
That's awesome.
because I've done over 1,500 dives.
Did diving replace music for you at that time?
It did.
Really? Like you wouldn't go home and think about it at all?
I think my mind was completely free of it.
Do you think that's because you were performing when you were giving these dive instructions? Is that enough?
I don't think I realized that's what I was doing. It was more just survival. But looking back on it, it's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, it's so interesting the way that, like, I think some of the aspects that get instilled as you as a musician, just being a musician doesn't have to be your personality. We should all work to be people outside of being our occupation. But there's certain things about being instilled on as a performer that makes you itchy, that you have to do it to some extent. It's like, dude, sometimes I'm just on a bender of it, and I go home and I perform for my wife when I'm just like trying to tell her a story. It's like it's so over the top, and it's like, you need to chill out. This is your spouse, and she wants to go to bed, but you keep going on about somebody. So, when do you get the wake up call that you have to come back to music?
I found I can't. Okay, I'm trying to put this in order here. There's a girl that I worked with in the Virgin Islands, and she had heard me talk about being a musician, and so somebody was selling like an acoustic guitar, and I think it was I don't know if you say Takamine or Takamine.
Takamine.
Yeah, like $100. I think they were leaving, and so I bought this guitar, and I just started just like playing around on songs, and so it's like music came back to me, and but this girl's one was like, hey, there's this guitar, and I think you should have it, and so it was like something brought it back to me.
Mm. And did you immediately go back to your last band's catalog, or did you go new music from the rip?
Completely new music, and it was all music that was probably inspired by me being in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any material from that era that still sits on your desk, or is there anything that's released from that era?
Probably that I don't even realize that I was doing it, but I was probably forming songs that I play that are even on my current album.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so when does your chapter of Scuba kind of wrap up, and when do you go back to being in a band?
I moved back to Cincinnati in '97. I found out I had a son who was 7 years old at the time, and so I came back to be in his life.
What was that call like?
Oh, well, it was weird. It was weird. It was certainly scary.
Completely unaware.
Completely unaware, and it was scary. It was a scary thing, not because I'm not dad material. I don't, I still feel like I'm worried. I worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, not to pry, but also like if you caught me and said he's 7, like, well, now I missed a lot.
Yeah, and yeah, there's all those things. There's a lot of fears that go along with that too, and so I made a decision to come back. I came back, and no intentions of music. But I have no intentions on anything. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Come back, and one of my buddies, Sean McGarry, you know Sean.
Yeah.
He had started a band and was trying to get it going. And
is that Marsha Brady?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And he wanted me to come see them and all that. I ended up starting to sing for them. I'm like, what else am I doing? What's it going to hurt me? So I ended up doing that, and until I could sort of reestablish myself.
And you're kind of co-parenting during this chapter?
Yeah. I mean, I just went immediately into like child support and that kind of stuff, and developing a relationship.
Yeah.
With my son.
My first child's on the way. We're having a baby girl at the end of the year, and it's the most exciting thing in the world. And I love having musician friends that are open about their life with their children, because it's so peculiar. It is such a peculiar way to be a person in the world, and also for the way that your child to see you as a parent. And there's definitely no one size fits all. But what was it like for you to come back to a type of old life as a musician, to kind of reintegrate into that, with the new dimension of being a parent?
It's just nothing but overwhelming fear of
Thank you for
how do
saying.
how do I make any of this work? By the time I got back, I had no money. You don't make a bunch of money as a living, on an island as a dive instructor, but when you're there, you don't need it.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
feels
you
like
don't
you're
need-
rich. I'd imagine
Yeah.
you have enough.
So coming back here, I mean, it was just, and it was difficult to get reestablished. There's not a whole lot of scuba diving gigs in the Cincinnati area.
You sure? You sure he's not looking in the right places? I'm pretty sure you got certified in Oklahoma City. You're like, there's lakes. We have a dirty river.
Yeah,
Go dredge a little bit, okay? Keep an open mind.
I did. I went and I actually started working for a commercial diving company.
In Cincinnati?
Yeah, based out of Cincinnati. That traveled and did different things, but yeah,
That's so wild.
I did
So-
that for a while, and just enough to know that I wasn't built for that.
So this is the Venn diagram of your life, though. So you're gigging, scuba, fatherhood out of almost nowhere. It's
Yeah.
just like what was the best year parenting when you got back?
Well, one more time.
What was the best year of
Oh.
parenting when you got back? It's quite the plosive.
I don't know. I was in such a place of confusion and complete fish out of water of how to make things work, and no real skills to do anything. It was just it's a hard question. I'm not sure I've had a best year.
Yeah.
I
You
just
two are
keep
pretty
trying.
close now, right?
Oh yeah.
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 Isn't he in the band?
Oh he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler, he's the
What-
main
what-
lead singer for the Karate Girls.
Is that not the most unfathomable way for this story to work out? For him to be in your band, to work alongside each other, to see the isms in him that were inherently in a person without you being there and then with you being there? Like, that's so crazy.
It's crazy and it's very cool, and he's he turned out just to be this great. He's like a manly version of me, I would say, because I'm
the
still
tough
not
guy.
super manly, but he's like a manly version of me.
He has a huge heart. I mean, every conversation we've ever had, he's just such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, what his wife's name is pronounced Casey.
Casey.
Yeah. To find a rock and roll wife is a very difficult thing. It seems like he really hit the nail on the head in that regard. So pretty
Yeah.
cool for them.
Yeah, they're a cool team.
Yeah. So, what's Marsha Brady like? Is it tough for you to come back to full working cover band, or in a similar way, do you just like, all right, put the original thing on rest. I'm doing this to make some money, doing this to make some money, and being a parent.
Again, I would love to say I had some grand plan, but at that point, man, I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to pay child support and just have enough to survive.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Yeah.
So being a great parent, I did take Tyler to the ocean for he'd never been to the ocean before. That might be my first great moment.
That's
that
a
I can
pretty
say.
cool day for.
Yeah.
Have you all ever gone scuba diving together?
No, he's not. He's not really interested in scuba diving.
Man, this isn't going to be on Disney if we don't get him to scuba. So
Yeah.
Tyler, figure it out, please.
Yeah.
For my sake, I got to pitch this shit at the end. It's like, that's beautiful though, man. So then you spend your 18 years up to now with the Karate Girls. What is this reemergence of writing again? Like, besides the film coming up and kind of feeling like you're egged on a little bit by that, but it seems like you really want it again. Like, tell me about Pigskins and doing the songwriters showcase.
I am well. To back up just a little bit, and I'll run it into that. After doing Marsha Brady for a while, one of the guitar players, well, both. There was a couple guys that I'd played with. We decided we were going to do some original music, and so we did this band called Zoe's Crush, and we went out and we played live, and it was Clark Conley, who was in Marsha Brady. Bass player was Adam Scavaner, and the drummer was Ryan Kiefer, and myself, and I was the lead singer, and I played guitar as well. We wrote some really cool songs, I think, some really, really good stuff. And but man, the Cincinnati area and doing original music, it is not friendly.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And to try to make something happen in enough time before people get sick of it, and which is, I think it's. I still love some of that music, but I wanted to keep writing songs. I don't know where it comes from, but writing music is still just part of who I am. So when this movie came up, the idea came up for my friend Mike Caparel. He was in a movie called The Black Dove. We talked about me doing some music for it, and I wrote a bunch of songs, and he ended up using some of them for the movie. But I just like the songs, and the character in the movie the songs were made about. Some of them had this sort of country blues rock sort of thing, and so I just made it in that vein. And when it was all over, I just took the songs and made an album out of it. Which I still appreciate and like.
What was your first time hearing it as an album sequenced rather than a cinematic score?
Well, I listened. I worked with Ashley Shepard down at Audio Grotto in Newport, and that's where I recorded the album. We did it in 7 days, the whole thing, and that was my limit and about what I could afford.
Who all played on it?
Well, at first it was just going to be me. I was prepared to play it all parts, and but then I had a friend named Todd Farler who had worked with, and he wanted to play drums on it, and we worked together so he could play drums. So he played drums on it, and then Ashley Shepard is such a virtuoso and can play everything, and he's better than most everybody at everything. He suggested he play bass on it. I'm like, yep, I'd be happy to have that. So he played bass on it. He also played the keyboard parts and program. He just did so much, and he produced me and directed me along, on the record, and it came out really, really great, I think.
Yeah. So, in this current iteration, like you have the album, you have this incessant call to come back to writing music again. Then why do you turn now towards a showcase? Why do you want to do that?
The Cincinnati area, it would be great if it had some more opportunities like Nashville does or Austin does for musicians. There's a lot of musicians like you and myself who want a home or a safe place we can go and play our original music. So the showcase was born out of that idea. I talked to the owner of it, Sean, and his wife, Carrie. We talked about this night where we could do this, and it was very, very supported by Sean and a guy named Ronnie Vaughn who books over there.
Yeah.
And they just said this is what they would like to lean towards, and I just loved it that they were willing to do it. Because I mean, if you've been in this area long enough, it's easy to get these kind of gigs. What's tough is to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
And build a home and a place where you can keep on doing this. It takes months to build something in this area.
Yeah. Well, so like there's Noah Smith's Crooner Circus that he's worked on for 8 years, has done a wonderful job between it's not Anderson Tap House. It was Big Ash for a long time. Now it's at Southgate House. We have my Songwriters Night, the monthly muse I've been doing for a decade in different rooms, and now it's at Radio Artifact. You have the Motor open mic, you have the Southgate open mic, like now you have Pigskins. There is kind of this opening up, and the biggest thing is to, in my opinion, unite on a common a common point of achievement that's not my night being the best or your night being the best. It's our city being the best. And that's why I poke at a Nashville or something like that, where it's like, if we're gonna talk shit about anybody, let's go a little bit further out just so we can all get a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I do think there is an interest in the songwriters world because of this era of the internet and how hyper-specific our phone leads us to certain artists. I don't think you'll get the same monolith that you got with a Beatles or a T-Swift because there was much more shared experience, radio, television. Everyone's on the same page in the zeitgeist. Now it's much more, I want to have a very personal connection to the artists I love. And I always saw that through the house concert scene, the Bluebird, the listening room, what Nashville has done with that. So it feels like a really special time for our city to look around and to lift each other up and to say, this is why this person is value to me. I bet they could to you as well.
Yeah, I think there are good musicians and people who write music, and there's just not enough places to go do something with it. And I know when I was trying to get my album made, and I was pretty excited about getting out and playing live with it. It was very difficult for people. You know what I found very discouraging is when you'd say original music, there's many people who didn't know what that meant. As strange as that sounds, they'd be like, oh, you could just see they didn't really understand it. And to go and support original, musicians in this city is something that I would love to be part of and have something to do with that helps it along. I mean, as you're doing.
Yeah, well, and I think in that same vein, like we all have different prerequisites for things we're gonna like. Warming up an audience to the idea that their new favorite artist may have just spent a decade teaching scuba in the Caribbean is a very obscure thing. But boy, is it important for realizing how approachable is the music. Like, you, as a listener, participating as a writer yourself or an instrumentalist only brings you closer to the thing. The more that we widen the opportunity to showcase and to try, like, I always tell folks, the dunk contest is no fun to watch unless you've yammed on an 8-foot hoop. Okay? Like, it's not crazy to think about what they're actually doing until you've attempted it.
Yeah.
So welcoming the stage for more people to get up and succeed, eat shit, do okay, work on it, that brings more listeners to the table. It brings their family to the table. And now we have to do the thing that you've done at an expert level, which is make sure the visual pairing is concise with the audible experience. How do I suck the air out of a room and make it feel like a pin could drop? Because when this moment really comes together, it has to be perfect. It's such a tough thing when, like we were talking about David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth made people feel comfortable with what was going on. I need to make you feel comfortable with going into songs you've never heard before, willing to let it be your new favorite song. That's a lot to ask of a listener.
Oh, it is, yeah.
It's a lot to ask of the world of the internet now. But if I can just get you in the room, I promise I can welcome this guy on the stage in a way that makes you feel fucking excited about it. But
Yeah.
it's an uphill battle for us all, and the best thing that we can do is stack the city in talent. So that's why I really want you to come on today, is because I see you're doing the showcase. I'm like, there is someone who is uniquely qualified to bring new listeners to the table that feel seen, appreciated. What'd you say about when you go on stage? Like, we are so grateful to be your band for the night.
Yeah, we're proud to be your band.
It's perfect. I'm proud to be on the stage in the corner tonight, trying to tell you about why the best and worst moments in my life can be something that we share in music. It's such a foreign idea. But one thing I've said this probably in the last 6 shows, and I think it's important for anyone out there that's considering writing a song or has written and cares for that kind of thing. With music, the best and worst moments of your life will always have purpose. There's always a place to go with that. I can't say the same thing about golf. I can't say the same thing about cooking in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's losing somebody you love and writing a song in the moment that's cathartic, that allows you now put it on the plate to somebody that's going through that same thing and to feel seen and loved and appreciated. A short anecdote on that is I was making a playlist for my grandmother's funeral the other day. The funniest shit in the world is in my grandmother's wishes, she asked for a mariachi band to be at her funeral. And her kids said, we don't want to pay for that, so they didn't do it. And I was like, that sucks on your end. But I'll put together a playlist, and I had a lot of fun with it. Like, there was a track called Papa Loves Mambo. That track's the shit.
Oh, yeah.
But what really got me was Golden Slumbers by the Beatles. This beautiful ode from Paul about putting his daughter down to rest for the night. And the way that song was there for me, unintentionally. It's not his experience of losing somebody, it's his experience of loving somebody. But the way that it comforted me and brought me to a moment of catharsis, like, that's alchemy. That's the greatest thing that art can do, is to be there for people when they might have felt alone. And you doing the Songwriter's Night, wherever it lands, is doing that same thing for people. And I feel so grateful for that.
I have recognized something that I didn't know would be there. It's every Wednesday, 7 to 10. There have been few nights that it ever ends at 10 o'clock, because it has made me recognize more than I ever have that, man, music is one of the things that brings people together as equals. If the people in that room, one guy could be a billionaire, one guy could, not have 2 nickels to rub together. It doesn't matter when we're all there in that room enjoying whatever it is that's happening. And I can't put my finger on it exactly, but there's nothing else like it that I've experienced, where people are just having a good time from the vibe of the room. All the musicians who, and tonight, it's Wednesday night, so there's two young guys, Luke Clisson and Hunter McKeon.
Hunter's a buddy of mine. I love that kid.
And they are fantastic. They're just great. And I keep on watching these guys going, I had no idea about these guys and how good they were. And I wouldn't had I not been doing this thing.
Yeah.
And so there's this very interesting, neat thing about having this night. Other musicians are just starting to show up just to hang out because there's other musicians there. And us musicians, whether what level we're on, we all have a common thread. You and I've never got to really sit down and have this kind of conversation with you, but it's because we play music.
Yeah.
And it's starting to become more clear to me that, if God or Jesus or whatever, Buddha was to come, whatever you believe in, was to come in right now and sit down with us and say, what are you? What do you do? Why are you here on this earth? It would be, I'm a musician. I'm a musician. I don't know your complete story. I'd love to get it someday, but
but it's a calling in that regard, and it's also an interesting unifier when you talk about someone like Hunter, where it's like Hunter's a good bit younger than me. He's just graduating high school. He's doing really well on things. He and I talk maybe once a month. If he has a question or if I have a question for him, we just go back and forth and shoot the shit. We don't have a lot in common outside of this. We talk for long stretches of the time. You two, it's even a further gap. When you think about what he's doing right now, you're like, dude, I was living in Dallas working at the medieval times at that age.
Right. Putting on a kilt.
Yeah, but there's something about saying, like, we are peers. I can appreciate your work. I can encourage you. You can do the same for me. It's just one of those great unifiers that's like, it's like when someone asks you to take your shoes off when you walk into their home. It's like, why don't you leave everything else behind and we're just going to talk via the medium of song, And I've grown very fond of Ronnie and Kevin Fox and Noah Smith and all these folks in our writers community because of this mutual appreciation. Like, every day I hope to be visited by that little bit of inspiration that lets me take my life and to share it with somebody. It is the most meaningful thing that I do. And it's just, again, so great to see the deck continually get stacked with talent because someone like Jimmy Lee fucking King is out there putting on great events like this. So thank you for putting other things on check to prioritize our mutual love in the writing.
It's cool. Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, you're doing the same things. It's interesting to see how you relate to some of these things compared to what I'm doing. They're very similar. And why? Why are they similar? Well, it's just because music is this thing that brings people together. There's a girl that's been singing with me. Her name is Delilah. She's a fantastic young singer, and she's there every week. She's kind of part of my show, and she's just a lot of fun. And I look forward to all of it. It's become one of my favorite nights of the week, and so
you're a good advocate for it. Before we wrap this up, show me about the product that you brought into here today. Well, you told me your age. I didn't believe you, and then you said that there might be some correlation here.
There is a product that I've been producing since my little girl was born, and she's 15 now. Her name is Siva. She's a singer and piano player and an actor, and she's trying to get into movies and different things.
That's
and
awesome.
When she was born, though, I was tasked with going and getting some sort of something for her skin. She had some kind of rash or something. And it was the first time I ever went to the store and looked on the label to say, and for me, who cares about me? But for her, I was like willing to look at the label. And there were all these like words that are the ingredients that are, for one, what's an inactive ingredient? Why? What is that? I remember I took a screenshot of the label with my phone and went back and started looking up all these things. Well, turns out there's petroleum and compressor oil, the same compressor oil that you use in air compressors. These are some of the things that they put in the bottle to fill it up. Now, they might have some good stuff that goes along with them, but most of it's stuff that is inactive. Your body rejects inactive things. That's why when you put things on your skin, it sits there and it doesn't absorb. Real 100% natural extracts absorb into your skin quickly because your body pulls it in because it wants it. Your body doesn't make these essential things. These oils are called essential oils, but it's called essential because your body doesn't produce them. I get very geeky on it very quickly, and I won't. But I started putting together these extracts, and I spent, especially during the COVID time, I really buckled down on making real products out of it. And
how long did your daughter use the product before? Oh, how long did you use the product before you gave it to her? How long did she use it before you started spraying it to other people?
The first thing that was made was just a couple. It was like shea butter and coconut oil. So immediately, and so there was no real having to wait. But after I started getting more geeked out about it, I started putting more and more work into it, and reading reports, and basically putting myself through college on my own. And then I went down and studied with a chemist in Louisville, all during COVID, and because I had time, like all of us musicians did. And then I started, just seeing how oils smelled together. That's first tells you something right there. How do things smell? If they smell bad to you, don't put them on your skin. Your body doesn't like it. But on my products, I made a name called Supernature Oils, but it's spelled kind of funky. So I'm getting ready to rebrand to SNO, Snow.
Okay.
And but one of the things I brought you is a facial serum.
Okay.
And I'll give that to you.
Should I show the label and whatnot?
You can.
Okay. Let's see here.
Yeah, and that's called Yellow Zone, and it's the only thing I will use is natural extracts, which is the first. When you take a plant or a tree or something and you start getting something out of it, that first level of them making an oil or whatever it comes out of it is an extract.
Gotcha. And so how do you apply this? How do you personally use this?
You would that is meant for your face because your face is has a different kind of skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's made with watermelon seed oil, which is very light, won't clog your pores. Has a few other things on the ingredients there.
Do you rinse the face first, then apply it as like a topical after the fact?
It's you can do it in a couple different ways. One is you wash your face while it's still a little bit damp, just a couple squirts on your hands, rub it in to your face. The other would be you're out in your car, you've been running around all day, and you need to come into a job interview or go into your job or see somebody. You can just take it right out of and spray it on your hands, put it right on your face, and it will freshen the way your skin looks, the way your face looks, so you can go in and do whatever you do.
This explains why you're too pretty for a Pantera-esque band, you know what I'm saying?
I wasn't using it then. I was just way too pretty for anything like that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I will look forward to trying it out, brother. And
Yeah.
if someone wanted to check out more of this, what would be the sites?
And the website is on it, but right now it's supernatureoils.com.
I'll show that QR code really quick if I can.
Yeah, there's a QR code. But it's going to change to SNO, and I need to get that together. But I still wanted to bring it to you and give you some of it.
I'm very excited to try it, man. And
It smells amazing. It's really good for your skin.
you're a very fascinating entrepreneur in the way that you've pivoted throughout your life. And, like, what's interesting is saying, like, I am a musician at my core. Like, it's interesting all the ways that can cross-train you for other fields in life. And I think it is an important way of reminding folks that as your kids are growing and they are willing to try new things, putting instruments in their life is an excellent vehicle for self-expression, for dialing in your motor skills, for appreciating art, but also in all the little ways that frontman learns how to go out there and sell scuba diving. It's like all the different ways that it just refines you as a person. So a reminder that there's incredible assets and different teachers in the Cincinnati area or wherever you're at that can really take a brief love as a kid into a lifelong passion, like a Sean McGarry or somebody at the music salon. So give that time the credit. You've turned out pretty damn good for a guy that may have gone without a roadmap necessarily.
Well, it's survival. I still just it's survival. You try to do the best you can every day.
Well, you're a beautiful person because of that. So thank you so much for coming on today. Is there anything else you want to plug on the way out?
No, just the the showcase every Wednesday night. It's for singers, songwriters, players. You don't have to be a songwriter. You can come in and play covers. But anybody who wants to be part of that and do a showcase, I'm more than happy to put people in.
Let me add some third wall trash talk to that. You could come in here as a non-songwriter and just play a tune, but just understand that the perspective that you wield within your own mind and view of the world is one of a kind, one in a billion. You have to put it somewhere that you can share with other people. It is your calling. Enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Brother, thank you for being here today. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. Players, peace.